This is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast where we revisit sci-fi, fantasy, and just plain weird shows.
This week, Threshold, episodes 7 and 8.
There is a uniqueness to this project, Senator.
Doctor, everybody says that about their pork. From Bridges to Nowhere to my personal favorite, livestock museums.
I can assure you that Threshold is not a livestock museum.
It's not good enough, JT. I'm looking at a $30 million expenditure, and I am answerable to the taxpayers, as I should be.
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast interested in eating a plant-animal hybrid. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan. What's real, Jordan?
Here's what's real. I'm going to give you a little bit of wisdom from this show.
Yeah,
Are you
okay.
ready?
I like wisdom.
This is going to be something that people tattoo on their arms, you know?
I'm into it.
Okay. Here's the quote. Information starts with a trickle and builds to a wave.
Oh, I like it. It's good.
Yeah? That was from JT in one of the episodes.
That's good for The Office. Like, once a little information gets out there, that trickle just starts building.
Yep.
Oh, man. Well, Jordan, we got 2 more episodes this week. But do you wanna do a segment first?
Of course, yeah. We've done this before, which is I will give you all the main cast of the show, and I have picked one odd role from each of their careers, and you have to, based on just hearing the title of the movie/TV show, guess which actor it was.
Great. I love it.
So I did try to do one thing because I tried to pick roles that sound sort of gender neutral to try to trick you a little bit.
Oh, so you're going to give me the role as well.
I'm going to give you the movie and the role.
Oh, interesting. I think this is a first.
Yeah. I went the extra distance. Okay. Well, just for the viewers, we have Carla Gugino playing Dr. Molly Ann Caffrey, Brian Van Holt playing Sean Cavanaugh, Brent Spiner playing Dr. Nigel Fenway, Rob Benedict playing Lucas Pegg, and Peter Dinklage playing Arthur Ramsey, and Charles S. Dutton playing JT Baylock.
There we go.
Those are all the ones. So, okay, so the first role, why don't I give them all to you, and then you kind of guess.
All right. Bang them off for me.
All right. I feel like we've never done this before. I'm really fumbling my way. The first movie is a 2011 movie called I Melt With You, and this role was Officer Boyd.
Okay.
Next movie is a 1990 movie called Q&A, which is like, what a non-evocative title, huh? And this character was Sam Chapman.
Okay.
You'll notice Sam
Could go either way.
Could go either way. Next is the TV series Oz. And this this was for a 2001 episode, and this person played murder victim.
Well, that changes who I'm going to pick, but go on.
Okay. I have a cartoon series that went for 3 seasons, and this actor / actress did it for all 3 years playing. The cartoon was called Generation Rex, and the character was Dr. Gabriel Rylander.
What kind of dinosaur was it?
I'm not sure.
No, all right, we'll keep
I'm
going.
not sure. I didn't look into it. We have another movie, 2017 movie called Wannabes, and it's spelled Wannabez.
Oh, the little Z threw me
Or,
off.
sorry, as Americans say Z, but we're Canadians, we said Z. And that was the role of the manager.
Oh, the manager.
And finally, and because this is my favorite role, is a 2018 movie, not too long ago, called Age of Summer, and the role was the Yiz.
It's called Age of Summer, playing the Yiz.
Yeah, so again, the movies were I Melt With You, Q&A, Oz, that was the TV show, Generation Rex, Wannabes, and Age of Summer.
All right. I'm going to go with, the first one was Officer something, right? But what movie was that?
I Melt With You, 2011.
That's Cavanaugh.
Okay.
Seems just, he seems like a man who always plays a cop.
He does, doesn't he?
Q&A, Sam something.
Q&A, Sam Chapman. Well, you have a good memory.
I'm going to go with Caffrey, Gina, what was her last name?
Gina Gugino?
Gugino?
Carla Gugino. I get Gina. Carla Gugino, yeah.
Carla Gugino. I'm going to go that way.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump back. I'm going to go all the way to the last one.
Yiz?
The Yiz.
Yes, that's Age of Summer.
Age of Summer. I believe that's going to be Peter Dinklage.
Okay.
Murder victim. What year was that again?
In the 2001 series of Oz.
All right, that's got to be Lucas then, because no one who's left would end up in that role.
Okay, you have two more. You got Generation Rex and Wannabes.
Oh, could you go either way on this one? I'm gonna guess Generation Rex is Brent Spiner. I feel like he ended up in animation at some point. I feel like that makes sense for him.
That's a good guess.
And then that would put old JT Baylock in as the manager in Wannabes. I could flop either way though on that one, but that's how I'm gonna fall on it.
Okay, so let me punch this into the the Continuum Drag computer. It also does this.
Oh, does this now too?
Yeah, it does
You've
this too.
upgraded
It just adds up. Oh, it also just has a calculator.
Updated that operating
Yeah.
system.
So you scored 1 out of 6. My
Oh,
friend.
whoa! I did not do well.
Yeah.
Who did I get?
But to be fair, I mean, these were.
I mean, I was just guessing.
You're just guessing.
I got Lucas right.
No, you did not.
Oh, darn.
So I Melt With You, the 2011 movie, was starring Carla Gugino in the role of Officer Boyd.
Okay.
Charles S. Dutton was the person playing Sam Chapman in Q&A.
Okay.
Peter Dinklage played the murder victim in Oz.
Oh, poor Peter.
I know, what a role, huh? Murder victim, 1 episode. Just a wild guy
He
who
would have been great on Oz.
just shows up, gets stabbed. I know, that's what I thought. I was like, Oz, he must be a new character. No, he wasn't. You were right on Brent Spiner doing voice work. He's done a lot of voice
All
work.
right, all
So he
right.
did Generation Rex. Wannabes was Rob Benedict. That's
Lucas.
Lucas, yep. And of course, that leaves Brian Van Holt playing the role of the Yiz. I don't know what that means, but he's second credited in as the Yiz. So it's not like just like a character who walks by and is like, "Let's party, everyone."
I'm the Yiz.
I'm the Yiz. No, it's like he's a lawyer or something, you know.
Amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, so there we
A
are.
lawyer called the Yiz.
I don't know.
I'd hire him.
Yeah.
Get me out of this murder charge, the Yiz.
Hey, you know who you need? The Yiz. Bum, bum.
Good round.
Yep.
Did not do as well this time as I have in the past, but
That's
you know,
all right. There's always next
it's
time.
all random. It's all
Mhm.
randomized. All right, Jordan. Shall we get into the episodes?
Yeah, let's get into them.
Here's the IMDb summary for Episode 7, The Order. While the Red Team investigates reports of people in a New England seaside village dreaming of the glass trees, Caffrey tracks down a leak and deals with the senator's inquiries. That was courtesy of A.Anonymous.
Adam Anonymous.
He's back and he's better than ever.
Yeah, that's true.
I will say I was happy the Glass Force finally returned. I'd almost forgotten about it.
Has it been a while?
I don't think we've seen it since the pilot.
Well, it comes back in full force these 2 episodes.
They're like, hey, remember this Glass Force? I'm like, yes, that was one of the better ideas you had.
Yeah.
Show us more. But it's back. The
it is back, yeah.
the grunts on the red team, Ramsey, Fenway, and Lucas, the sort of like lower class citizens in there. We start off by seeing them discussing some nasty pizza.
Yeah, and now here's my point. No, I actually know. It's Poppy's Pizzeria.
Poppy's Pizzeria. I just like they called it nasty pizza.
Yeah, they're angry because the implication is that they've been in this office so long and they're now running the gamut of all the food options and they're now down to bad pizza and stuff. But I was like, didn't they just show in it a few episodes ago that this place could get them anything they want?
Well, as Ramsey, I've got the quote here. Ramsey puts it, Dr. Caffrey's maniacally detailed pseudo-fascist threshold plan.
Yeah.
It will only let them order from a place once every 3 weeks.
Right.
So they're constantly having to like cycle through new places, and they're just like run like there's not enough restaurants.
Yeah, but my point being though, they got what's his face, baby carrots and a baseball or whatever. It's like get it from anywhere they want. They should get it. They get tacos
Get a
from
flying
Mexico.
in, flown in.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, maybe they're just not using it to the full advantage.
That's what I think.
Caffrey walks in to tell them that those data miners they employ, they've found people in Broxton, Rhode Island, who have been calling a radio station to talk about a shared dream they've had, a dream of the Glass Forest.
That's right.
And in this case, she's putting old Ramsey and Lucas in charge.
Yeah, they're gonna pretend to be Center for Disease Control.
I know, and they're going to get off and go on their own thing. And why that's happening is because Caffrey and Kavanaugh have more pressing matters. There's been a newspaper article written about Threshold that says that Threshold's designing a military weapon that doesn't hurt children.
Yeah.
Some sort of like, well, just enough of the right information, but not quite all of it.
Yeah, and that's what I guess what they're worried about. They're worried that the article is close enough to the truth that whoever's leaking it will only take a little bit more information to let everyone in the world know there's aliens. Although here at this thing, would it be the end of the world if we actually let people know that this
That's a good
big
question.
threat? You know what I mean? Like at this point, guys, like it's been what do they say, 12 weeks or something like that?
Yeah.
They've made no progress.
They're not making a lot of progress,
Right.
yes. But one thing's for sure. there's a leak in Threshold.
Yeah, that's true.
And it could only be from someone in the team.
Yeah, and it's
Womp, womp,
I know
womp.
it's weird though in this episode, as you mentioned, that Ramsey and Lucas are really the A plot, and this is the B plot, which is the first time I think we've had
They've flopped that
they've
around.
flopped it,
Yeah. Well, let's run through what's going on with Ramsey and Lucas this episode out on Rhode Island. We'll head out there with them and run through that plot, shall we?
Oh, and can I mention one real quick thing?
Yeah, of course.
Baylock mentions at one point that so far they've spent $30 million on Threshold.
Why not?
$30 million.
We got to get all those pizzas.
I guess.
Those nasty pizzas.
Yeah, nasty pizzas. $30 million.
The people who have been infected or having these dreams, they are. It turns out they aren't infected by the like alien genetics. They're just like have some minor exposure to something, and the dreams are starting to fade. And there's only one commonality between all these people who've called into this radio station, and it's someplace they've eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the name of the place?
Oh, I don't know if I wrote it down. I know it's a like a fish and chip restaurant.
Eddie's Clam Shack.
Yeah.
And as the camera swoops in on Eddie's Clam Shack, Dream On by Aerosmith plays.
Yeah.
Because they're all having dreams, Jordan.
Yeah, I got it.
So Dream On.
Yeah, all the viewers got it. everyone got it.
They show up. They close down Eddie's Clam Shack. It's the end of Eddie's livelihood. His whole career is coming to crash down around him.
It is funny because they do make you feel bad about that guy, but it's a weird thread that the writer really wanted you to know about, because like, this is not ruining anything for the episode, but later on that's going to come up like, we're ruining this guy's business. But they're like, don't worry, we'll tie up that loose thread.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, I wasn't that worried.
Were you guys worried about? And it was funny about Eddie, who runs the place. He's not even that distraught about it himself.
No.
Like, he seems like, that's the end of this, I guess.
Yeah.
But basically, they're wondering, could he have been serving like mutated fish from where they blew up the Bighorn? Which unfortunately they're not. I was hoping there was going to be some like weird mutated fish food going on. But one of his employees, old Jake the busboy, when they show up, he takes a runner.
Yeah, and here's the thing. He couldn't have been more sketchy from the beginning.
Oh, he's sketching out.
As soon as he comes in, he's all sketchy. I'm like, well, he's guilty. And they're just like, they don't notice anything. To be fair, though, the two people they have, Ramsey and Lucas, they've never been in the field. They don't know what they're
They
looking
don't know
for.
what they're doing. They only realize something's up with him when they find his watch sitting on a counter, and the watch hands have curved into maybe the symbol.
I know they keep wanting to do this. We've seen in static the symbol, and we've seen traffic lights go in the signal.
This fractal spiral. The watch was the least convincing version of it.
Like it was just like, why? Like it just felt like they had to jam it in, and they're like, yeah,
they needed
a
clue.
Yeah, it's just like the hands bend. You're like, do they?
Well, and even watching it, because he picks up, there's a close-up of the watch with these like curling watch hands, and you can just hear the ADR addition. This watch looks like the symbol.
Yeah, I know, it was bad.
Anyway, they head off to the motel where Jake the busboy is living.
Yeah.
And when they get there, the first thing they do is they pick up his phone. They're like, what's the last phone call that we made on this phone? They're like, the bus station. So they send off all their armed guards to head down to the bus station.
Let's say you and I are part of Threshold.
Okay.
We get sent out. We're just the numbers guys. We're just you work on software, I work on hardware. You know,
that's how we run it.
we go down for the first time. We're on a mission. We talk to Fish Boy. Then we go to the apartment. Don't you think we check the apartment? Do you think you just like open a couple doors?
That is a real Threshold thing. There's been at least one other one I can think of. And I feel like there's
at least
been
twice.
two where they like show up at a place where they're looking for a man that they suspect of something, but they never like open a closet door. They're just like, I guess he's not here, and then he jumps out of the closet.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's sort of ruining. That is what happened while they're
They send their guys off, and then the Jake the busboy just walks back in. He was out of the motel room. He apparently walked out of the room for 10 seconds, and he walks back in completely shirtless.
Yeah.
Where's his shirt?
I don't know. I think he was out doing laundry.
Oh, maybe. He walks in completely shirtless, and he's just like, hey, I've got a gun. I'm going to shoot that wall over there, and I guess you two are my hostages now.
Yeah, so they're unarmed. This guy's got him, and
They've made this big stink about how both of them are afraid of having guns to lure us into thinking they have no way of defending themselves for a very boring reveal later.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's to keep this scene going as long as possible.
But it turns out old Jake the busboy, he's not infected necessarily. He's just a bank robber.
This guy, what's Fish Boy's name? Do we
Jake the busboy.
Yeah, Jake the busboy. So he was a bank robber, and then while he was waiting for the money to get cleaned, he decided to take a part-time job in a restaurant?
Yeah, he robbed a bank, ended up in this small town because when he had opened the bag of money he had stolen, it had one of those dye packs that exploded in it.
Yeah.
And he didn't know what to do, so he just like decided to lay low here and get a job as a busboy while he tried to figure out how to get all this ink off this money.
It just seemed like I know what they were doing, but I was like, would you get a job as a busboy? Like, it just seemed so. I get it. It's not usually a job you'd get as a career, but it just seemed like a weird. Like, I'm like, why couldn't he just lay low for a while? I'm sure there was a couple bills he could have used just to. Anyway, that's the point. Is they're like, he had to make sure that he's bad. You know, that it's okay to shoot him later.
And he's been having these dreams too of the Crystal Forest, and he thinks he's been poisoned by the dye.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a government conspiracy to stop him from robbing a bank.
Yeah.
Essentially, though, what I did like about this scene is he's basically like, I've got you as hostages. Cops are coming. I need to get this ink off these bills. So whichever one of you two from the CDC, as far as he knows, can tell me how to get the ink off these bills, I'm going to take with me, and the other one I'm going to murder right here. Right. And this is one of the parts I really enjoyed about this episode, because these two, Lucas and Ramsey, actually make kind of like a fun character duo. Like, he says, he's like, I will kill whoever doesn't help me. And Lucas immediately just like blurts out the answer. And like Ramsey's like, you just got me killed. And Lucas is like, sorry, I'm not going to die here. Like, he throws Ramsey under the bus without like a breath, like a beat doesn't even pass.
You know that at this point, the writers have figured out that even though the characters haven't quite gelled, the two actors are playing off each other rather well. So just keep, giving them the plot that they're to be together for some reason.
Well, and then like once Ramsey's slated to die, Ramsey blurts out, I have a wife and 8 kids. I was just like, this is fun. This is a fun dynamic they've got going on here. But essentially it boils down to they're both like a couple cowards.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, yeah, I'd love to watch a couple cowards get into trouble.
They're just two computer guys.
Yeah. What are they again?
One's in hardware, one's in software.
But a phone rings. The distraction allows Lucas to pull out his electric gun, which
had it the whole time.
We were misdirecting, thinking he didn't bring down with him, and he's able to like zap Jake the busboy. And
I got a question about these bullets, because they're going to come in the next episode too, and I'm assuming every
forever.
episode.
Yeah, they've got electric bullets.
Electric bullets. If I shoot you with an electric bullet, is it still going inside of you?
Yes.
But then you're also getting electrocuted.
You're both getting shot and electrocuted.
Yeah, I know. It seems like a little much, doesn't it? Because they sort of, I thought they were implying that
it's like a rubber bullet.
Yeah, like it wasn't going inside and you're still getting electrocuted. But I was like, but no, it's a bullet.
Because in this scene, when he shoots, he doesn't shoot Jake the busboy. He shoots at Jake the busboy, so that when the bullet hits the chair next to him, it shoots an electric charge out. And
you're right.
Because he's I can't shoot that man. He might not be infected. The bullet would kill him. So let me just give him a zap.
Right.
So when you are shot with an electric bullet, you are both shot by a gun and then also electrocuted on the side.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Anyway, but what they find out is obviously he's not an infectee. He has nothing to do with the dreams. So they head on back to Eddie's clam shack. And it turns out, you know what? Eddie built this place himself.
And very recently.
Very recently. This is a very new business. Because one of his bar rails, he built out of a plank that washed up on the beach. Which just happens to be from the exploded bighorn?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing of this show is everything has to get connected back to this ship and to these sailors. So the leaps of logic that one has to make to get there are getting longer and longer because, they're just writing episodes, standalone episodes. And they're like, oh, yeah, wood's in a boat. It came from the boat.
Well, and it's funny. I mean, we'll talk about this next episode, too. This episode is one of the starts feeling like it's tying in, like things that happen in this episode directly relate to the next episode, which is the first time this is starting to happen. So this really maybe more feels like this should have been just episode. Like we could have skipped those other the other like 4 episodes we've seen.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because like at least this one, none of the other ones have tied at all together.
Well, this is interesting because this has had some light serialization in terms of characters have mentioned in passing other episodes. But you're right. Other than these 2 episodes we're watching now, you could really play them out of order. Doesn't really matter.
But essentially, yeah, they're like, let's take that plank, let's bring it back. They'll look at it microscopically and they'll see it's growing its own like crystal forest microscopically, which will become a part of the next episode. Mm-hmm. And as they're leaving, they're like, well, that's why all those patrons and the employees all had these dreams because they were sitting next to this plank. And then just like off the cuff at the end, they're like, oh, except for Eddie. Eddie didn't have any dreams. Somebody grab his DNA. But they never come back and never explain what that meant.
That's right. Yeah, they were just like, yeah, he's fine. And they're like, oh, yeah, he's fine.
And then someone's just like, let's just get some of his DNA. We'll figure that out later. It's like, you guys don't think it's curious that Eddie, the fish shack owner, is the only one who... Anyway,
He spends a lot of time in the office. He doesn't come in.
He doesn't come in. You're right. This is the first time he's been in weeks. That's why the business is failing.
He's too busy out looking for wood on the beach.
All right, you want to jump back to Threshold and get into the side plot of this episode?
Yeah. Now, as you start this, we're going to meet a new character very soon named Tolman. Is it Agent Tolman? Senator Tolman?
Senator Tolman.
I wasn't sure if I was supposed to like or hate this guy right off the bat. Like, that gets answered as we go. But at the beginning, I was like, all the first couple scenes, I'm like, am I on his side or am I on Threshold's side?
I mean, it is the question, and it's something that I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. Because, yeah, this guy shows up. He basically saw the article with Threshold in the paper. He's a senator. He's the chair of the Appropriations Committee, and he's a little pissed off because they've tacked on that $30 million in expenditures they spent on Threshold onto a bill that they snuck past him in the thing. And he's just like, my job is to make sure money doesn't get misspent, and you guys have been lying to me. So I'm coming down here, and I'm finding out what is going on. What is Threshold? I'm paying for it. Why is this going on? And I think this is a case with this show, and I think maybe is one of the weak points in that they don't lean enough into the gray of this. I think they toy with the idea that is Threshold legal? Is it operating well? They mostly let us believe yes.
You mentioned this if it wasn't the last episode, in a previous episode. We have to remember this is 2005.
Mm-hmm.
We're still in this era of post 9/11 Patriot Act sort of, and I think they're still pushing into the whatever it takes, we got to do, and isn't that kind of cool? And I think you're right. There is some.
It does feel like
there's some area to play with, but they don't know where they want to land.
They don't know how to make it both. They don't know how to make it feel sinister, but like they don't know how to do an anti-hero. Basically, I think is their problem. Because when he shows up, he's totally right. Senator Tolman's like, "What is happening here?" The National Security Advisor is just like, listen, I got to get him off my back, so I'm swearing him into a Threshold. We're going to tell him all the secrets.
Mm-hmm.
I need you, Caffrey, to go give him a tour of the facility.
The tour seemed like it took like 40 minutes. She's like, and here's the washroom.
It was definitely that was the tour.
I was just like, oh man. She does bring him down to the old Arkham Asylum, though.
Yeah, she brings him to Arkham Asylum, where our old military academy boy Janklo comes back.
I hate Janklo. Every time Janklo shows up, I'm like, I hate your stupid fake Southern accent. I hate your stupid haircut. I hate him. I hate Janklo.
Did you like when he was eating breakfast off that metal tray? And then when he's done, he crumpled it up like a napkin. That's how strong he is.
That's how strong he is, yeah. I just don't like it, Janklo.
But essentially, they go to the Arkham Asylum. They meet Janklo. Janklo is like really laying it on thick for the senator about how he's like, being held here against my will. I'm a patriot. You can't keep me here.
Yeah.
And
the senator has a point.
And the senator's already kind of like heard a little bit about it. He's just like, oh, so you're telling me this alien thing makes them super strong? Like, have you guys been like thinking about this for military research? He's just like, I'll give you more money. Like, this is cool. He's kind of like, this is cool and could give America a real edge. So he's into it. So he really buys into like the sucking up that Janklo's giving to him. And so they're walking away, and the senator clearly has like, he also is, a bit of a conniving guy. So he starts talking to old Caffrey, and he's just like, well, this prison you're keeping them in, he compares the conditions to Abu Ghraib.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oof, rough. And then compares it also to locking up Jehovah's Witnesses for trying to convert people. Which is like both a bit of a stretch, but it did like that it like leads to Caffrey just turning around and saying like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, that was the whole point, is to like get her on the opposite side of someone she should be sucking up to, basically. Essentially what his motivation is he wants to move up politically. And he sees this is the opportunity now that he's in his inner sanctum. He knows about this alien invasion. He's going to get these prisoners moved to the Pentagon, and he's going to be like, then he's going to be at the Pentagon, and he's going to kind of like have more control, because as they say in this episode, not even the vice president knows about Threshold. Like, this man is now like up there with the president's knowledge base. So yeah, we're supposed to get the sense this guy is like, he comes in with good intentions, but we come to learn he's just kind of like a political mover and shaker. So we shouldn't like him too much.
Right.
Jordan, remember at the beginning of this episode when there was a leak? What's going on with that leak?
basically they figure it that they think it is Dr. Fenway.
Well, yeah,
it's who they're going to go for. But what was it? They see an email and it's got initials. What
No,
it was?
remember she takes the reporter out for lunch to buy a Cobb salad to the reporter, and the reporter won't give up
That's
her
right,
source. But what that was really happening is while Caffrey and reporter were at lunch, Kavanaugh was breaking into her house and stealing her shit.
Oh, right, yeah. So, anyways, it's a long way to go that they think it is Dr. Fenway.
Her notes have her source written down as like NF is the thing. So could it be Nigel Fenway? And he gets called down to the principal's office.
He's very irritated about it.
And I mean, this is kind of great because he shows up and he's just like, he agrees with them and like what their suspicion. He's like, I think it's dumb what you do here. Keeping this whole crisis secret and not asking for global help is insane, which 100% correct because it's going badly for them and they really do need help. And he's also like, oh yeah, and I also owe all three of my ex-wives so much alimony. So I could use the money.
And he's mentioned that many times now of the sheer magnitude of the alimony that he owes.
But he's just like, I would never commit treason. Caffrey's like, good enough for me. So they take the investigation to the next level. They go to a diner he hangs out at all the time, where diner's run by the soup Nazi from
that's right.
Seinfeld.
That's right.
And what they find is someone's hidden a bug under his usual seat at the diner.
Yeah, which is the point they make is that this is why Caffrey is so type A about things about
why you can't eat the same
because
pizza place every
what
day.
they find out is he goes to the same every night. He goes to the same diner just to kind of unwind, and someone knows that and is recording it. But what I like about this point is basically in the span of like a couple scenes, they're like, hey, there's a bug here. Let's go do a sting. And then they go out, even though Dr. Fenway is not at the diner at this point. They go find the guy who's listening in.
Yeah.
But he's sitting there. I'm like, what are you listening to? Fenway's not even there.
He's dressed up as a priest.
Yeah.
It is character actor John Polito.
Yeah. Another Seinfeld actor, too.
Another Seinfeld actor. Also was in The Intruders, which we watched.
Oh, yeah.
And he's playing a character, a private investigator named Nicky Frost, NF.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kavanaugh takes him down, busts him in.
It didn't feel like they just need another scene for Kavanaugh doing the thing he's done every episode, which is just assaulting someone and being like, I'm a cool guy. And it's like, okay, yeah.
He's just a big meatball. He's got to do something.
Yeah.
They take him in. They quiz him on what's going on. It turns out he was hired by one of Fenway's ex-wives to see if this new job he had paid any more money. How horrible a husband was Fenway to elicit this kind of hatred from his ex-wife?
It's funny. They kind of play it off like, isn't that a funny inconvenience? But it does raise that question that like,
how bad do you have to be?
He's pretty bad. And then also, I don't know if we can finish this plot line, but like at one point they have the private investigator like kind of locked up.
Yeah, they lock him
up.
And
then doesn't he has something like, he comes down to give like some pithy statement to them and stuff, and he was just like, he's like, tell my wife I hate her or something like that at the end. And I was just like, oh, am I supposed to be on his side?
It does seem strange. I also didn't he states very specifically he goes to this diner so he can talk to this guy about baseball. He just needs to get out and unwind, talk to someone who's baseball. How would the PI have gotten any information? Like, he's not going there to talk about work.
They imply that they've pieced together bits of stuff. Like while he's talking to the guy, he'd be like, what did you do today? Well, I work for a secret organization. And they're like, oh, we got that bit of information. And then he said, I
found this kid whose brain works there.
Yeah, it's just like, it doesn't really work, but they want to set up this thing of, would he have done it? Now, we won't spend too much time on this. I personally don't think this works very well because...
Well, I want to talk about this next scene here because
Okay.
I think this will go into exactly what you're talking about. Because this basically leads into a heartfelt discussion between Fenway and Caffrey about following the threshold protocols and isolating yourself from everyone you love so that you can keep people safe. And it's just something I don't think works on this show. Like, they're trying to emotionally connect you to characters who are jerks.
Yeah.
And it's not a problem to have a jerk. I don't think having an anti-hero is an issue. But what this show always wants you to do is they like such a heartfelt scene between the two of them. We're talking about just how hard it is to be doing this work. And I'm just like, we don't like them enough for that to tug our heartstrings.
Well, it's something I was going to talk about at the end of this, but it is something that I've noticed, which is they've had sort of this intermittent success with character building on the show. Sometimes it's worked well, sometimes not so well. And as we get into the back half of the series, any sort of dramatic turns or reveals that they want to do, like this one, that maybe he was a spy or whatever. I just don't think they're going to have the excitement the show hopes is going to have. And I think it's because it's not about the actors. The actors are fine. It's just kind of crazy to me that after 8 episodes, things haven't really been coherent enough. So writing wise, I don't even know the characters that well. So if they make a decision that's out of character, I don't even know if that's out of character.
Well, and I don't know, because it is this thing where I feel like they want us to really sympathize with these people, but they're not overly sympathetic. Like, they've also written them to be like their basic character structure not to be overly sympathetic.
They've glossed over stuff, right? Like, because I don't feel any real connection with these characters.
Well, I think the thing is, like, I think that's okay. Like, if what we knew about Fenway was he's kind of a jerk, had a bunch of ex-wives, really good at his job, so that's why they needed him. But, like, could he betray them? Sure. Like, he's always complaining about it, right? But then to have them sit down and, like, have this thing where it's like, I know you're lonely here and all this stuff, it's just like, it doesn't work because I don't need to feel sympathy for him to be interested in him.
Well, and they also don't dedicate enough time to these scenes. Like, they always throw in 1 or 2 scenes where they're like, Caffrey's tired. This guy misses his family. And they just throw them in, and it's like, it's almost like, what I mean. It's almost like do it or don't. You know,
those are the sympathetic beats they keep trying to drop in that don't work.
Yeah,
because we don't. It's not that we don't care. Like, I could still care for a guy who's a jerk.
You and I are maybe coming from 2 different ends. I think it's that I'm not invested enough in these characters, so I don't care how they're feeling.
Well, I'm saying the same thing. It's like, I don't think, but the thing is, like, I don't think they have. I think they have characters that we believe have these feelings.
Yeah.
Because that's what, like, we have these moments where, like, isn't it emotionally important these two are having this conversation? It's like, no, because I don't believe they'd ever have this conversation.
Right.
Like, she's supposed to be this, like, hardcore, like, follow the rules kind of thing, and he's supposed to be this, like, I hate the establishment. I have a lot of like, them having this, like, heart to heart about, like, how hard it is to be lonely here. It's like, I don't believe either of those characters would ever have that conversation.
Right. And we have the same thing in the next episode. There's going to be a scene with JT and Caffrey, and it's sort of...
Yeah, she needs a friend.
Yeah, and it's like, you feel like on paper it makes sense, but it doesn't work. It doesn't hit those heartstrings you think it should.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Listen, if you need to have this thing where he's isolated and alone and that's where he went to this bar and, like, that's how he got called out and that's the lesson he learned, you don't need to have a conversation. It could just be him going home after work and, like, he just, like, has nothing. You just leave him sitting in a room alone and you just pull away. Like, you know, you just, like, make him look sad and lonely. That's all we need.
Or they could have seeded it from the beginning. They could have had just a scene every now and then, every couple of episodes, of him just in this diner. You don't know why he goes to the diner, and maybe it looks a little creepy, to have at least seeded the fact that maybe he has been doing something nefarious on the side, but they just...
Well, they never thought of the idea until the start of writing this episode.
Yeah.
That is no problem. I will say this one thing, though, about this heart-to-heart they have. Will Caffrey's talking about how sad it is they can't live regular lives. She mentions her friends that she's ghosted basically from her life. Who are, first of all, I don't believe for 1 second she has any friends.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
But what I loved is she's like, when I first ghosted them, they all thought it was because I had cancer. But now they think it's because I'm a homewrecker cheating on a married man.
Yeah, what was that?
I was just like, I don't know if these are your friends.
Also, was she telling people she had cancer?
I know. I think they're just like, oh, you stopped calling us, so we assumed you had cancer. And she's like, oh, I don't have cancer. And they're like, oh, so you're sleeping with a married man then? And she's like, good enough.
Whatever gets you off my case.
Back at Threshold, though, basically what's kind of happening is Fenway has come back to his office after all this shenanigans. He goes to his old vault in his laboratory and discovers that a CD recording he has of the single has gone missing. And I kind of was just like, okay, what's going on here? He's like, has anyone weird come through recently? They're like, oh, well, we gave the senator access to all your secret files. Like, I was just like, why did you give the senator that much access?
I actually think it was even lamer than that. They sort of implied that he did it while she was giving them the tour.
Yeah,
like he was like, look over there, and he just like grabbed him.
Well, that's what
like,
I mean.
Okay.
Like, he had to use his fingerprint to open it, and I'm just like, so you also gave him biometric access, and then while he was on a tour with you, you looked away for 30 seconds?
Yeah. But and the point is,
he stole the signal.
Yeah.
They rush over to his house to try to stop him, and when they get there, they hear a weird noise, and they head up to his bedroom where in his CD player, he's been playing the CD, and laying on the floor next to his bed
is a dead intern. A mutated dead intern.
Dead, grotesquely mutated 21-year-old intern. I was like,
here's the thing.
This is crazy. Why isn't that his wife?
He knows what the signal is at this point.
Yeah, I think he thinks he's going to make him strong.
Is that what they think?
I think that's what he thinks. It's still insane. And also, I got to say, because she's dressed in a 90, like, they're clearly about to
Yeah.
have sex. Did he put it on as foreplay? He's like, listen to the signal.
I think so. But I've got a question for you. The mutations. Doesn't it seem like some people are mutating really fast and other people are not mutating at all? Do you know what I mean? Because it's like old a DJ girl. She
Right.
listened to the signal over and over and over, and she just kind of got a little weird. How many times did this intern listen to it that she like her face looked like a
It is a question. Like
mountain.
certainly some people when they hear it initially just grotesquely mutate immediately. Some people become like driven to spread the signal, and then you're right. And then with the DJ, I guess it's because it was the first woman they theorized it was incubated. Like the rules are like still very nebulous.
Well, I would say not nebulous, inconsistent. I would say.
Inconsistent. And I still always come back to the pilot where those three lead characters listen to the signal on that tape, which is all these other mutated people are doing. So why, like, so they seem to have even changed the rules since that
Yeah.
pilot. So it is tough to like nail it down.
The point is, the senator was nailing an intern.
That he's such a dirtbag.
Yeah.
But it does lead into my favorite part of this episode. They hear a noise coming from the bathroom.
Oh, this was a high point. They open the door and there's like a horribly mutated cat.
Alive and meowing at them.
Yeah, yeah.
It was so gross.
It looked gross. Yeah,
it
it was
looked
good.
awesome. I was really happy.
My note was mutated cat ! Best thing this show has ever done.
I laughed so hard. I hit pause and I made Melanie come downstairs. I'm like, watch this. It looked so gross. It was
Yeah.
such a gross looking mutated cat. Anyway, they remembered that the senator was getting on a plane with the national security advisor, who we've never mentioned this before because it's been seeded in a way that I never thought was important.
Yeah.
But apparently the national security advisor is Caffrey's old pal. Like they're like old friends from her university days.
It was her old professor,
Right.
and now they're friends. She was in the pilot. She's been a kind of recurring character.
And they keep like kind of mentioning like, oh, we have a past relationship, but I just never like it's never gone anywhere, so I've never bothered mentioning it.
Well, no, because every few episodes they just meet on a bench.
She's like,
and she guys gives her a
how's
pick
life?
her up.
She's like, good,
Yeah.
life's good. Anyway, they're both on a plane headed to LA that day. So they're like, we got to stop that plane. They're like, already took off. So she gets on the phone and calls the cell phone of the national security advisor, and he's like, hey, I got to warn you, the senator up there, he's listening to the signal. He's mutated. And she's like, no worries, everything's fine. We'll be touching down soon.
Mm-hmm.
And they get off the phone, and they basically are like, wait, the things she told us aren't true. She's lying to us. So everyone on the plane is now mutated.
Yeah, they make a bit of a logic jump. Now, I'll give the show this. What they basically realize is these people are infected. They're flying somewhere else. They're now on a mission to infect other people. So we now have that choice of we have to either shoot this plane down.
I mean,
or not.
this is good.
So this is pretty good. It's been set up, and obviously they've set up that it's her old friend, her mentor, so she feels.
Yeah, she doesn't want to blow it up. There's a lot of that. Yeah,
It's just that like their leap of logic to get there doesn't quite make sense. So you're
and
like,
I mean,
okay.
and this is also happening the last 5 minutes. Like this is
That's
a
classic,
C
the show.
plot. This is a C. Like this is a plot where we had to go find Dreams in Rhode Island. We had to plug a leak inside, and now we have a C plot of a plane full of infected people that we have to blow to the sky, which is in itself like is the best part of it. Like that idea of just like you got to make that hard choice. You got to blow these people up.
What's interesting is the A plot of this show was finding why people are getting infected from the fish, and it's the worst plot line.
Yeah, I mean this should have been the core
Yeah.
plot line.
Yeah.
At any rate, Caffrey finally makes a call. She blows the plane out of the sky,
Mm-hmm.
and it ends with Caffrey sad and
Yeah.
and JT Baylock being like, "Hey, listen, if I ever get infected, kill me."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "All right."
But they get to mention that the restaurant owner gets a $75,000 reward, so
Yes.
he's okay.
I have this little thing here with a little denouement for our other characters. Is yes, the Lucas is mad at Ramsey for being such a cold-hearted bastard, but not caring about that. But Ramsey got him the reward for catching Jake the busboy, the
Yeah.
bank robber.
So he's sure his business is gone, but he got $75,000.
And the other kind of denouement for the character is Fenway. He goes to visit that PI, and he tells the PI, he's just like, because you leaked that information to the press, it's your fault that intern is dead.
Yeah.
And when the PI doesn't show enough remorse, he's just like, well, I'm charging you with a felony, so how do you like that?
Yeah. It didn't make sense.
It was such a stretch.
It was a stretch, and not only, they wanted to give Fenway
The
be able
moral
to
high
be-
ground?
Yeah, the moral high grade by giving the other guy comeuppance. I'm like, but that guy was just doing his job, and also
You're the one you fucked up.
Yeah, you're the one who made the mistake, and you're the one who clearly is in arrears for paying your alimony. So
But
it was like they
ignore
didn't.
the threshold plan. You treat your ex-wives badly. This is all your fault.
But again, as you say, they don't know what to do with a possibly gray, not very positive character. So they just like, no, wouldn't it be cool if he gets to say that cool thing and walk away? I'm like, no, he's a jerk.
No, it's still his. Like, it is weird. It's like
Yeah.
they want to. It's like you're absolved now. It's like, you guys, you don't have to absolve every character every episode.
But that's the episode.
All right, let's get into the IMDb summary for episode 8, Revelations.
I had this made after the visions began. I have seen this shape many times. It appeared to me in rain on a window, a reflection on a fountain. Such a profound design. One symbol made of 3 separate spires. Sound familiar?
You think it's the Holy Trinity?
What do you think it is?
I've been told it's a graphic depiction of a mathematical equation.
Maybe it's both.
Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind.
My favorite Einstein quote.
Caffrey and Kavanaugh follow a lead on an infectee in an Indiana town with a preacher relating visions of an alien landscape. Courtesy of A. Anonymous.
This is a plotline trope that I just hate. I hate the like religious person who's also might be crazy and he's tricking his flock. I hate this plot. It's been done so many times in TV. It's dumb and it's lazy and it's stupid, and this episode is as well.
Yeah, I mean, I will agree. I was gonna get into it later, but we can talk about it now because I actually think obviously that trope is stupid. Like that is a like he's a crazy person.
It's just too easy.
But I actually think the trope that I maybe not hate more, but that this is also doing, but I also dislike it, is for Caffrey, who goes to meet this reverend, and then Lucas and Ramsey will do the same thing. There'll just be this debate about, is the alien invasion God's plan, or is it not God's plan? And there's like this debate of science versus religion. And it just like, I mean, A, doesn't work well on this show to begin with, but it's just like, I don't know, man. You can't, like, there's no point to that argument. Like, is the alien invasion God's plan? I have no idea. I have no idea what God's plan is. There may be a God, there may be not. It's impossible. You're never going to figure it out. It's not a debate. Like,
well, that's
no
the
one's
thing.
right, no one's wrong.
Oh, I know, and it's just to try to have the characters be on opposite ends of an argument. But you're right; it just ends up being tiresome.
And it is like just a thing we see in these sci-fi shows so often, and it just like I'm just like, it doesn't get anywhere. Like at best, you can kind of like have an okay conversation. At worst, they usually just make like the science guys have this like they're like, I'm superior. Like, like that doesn't. They don't go quite this way with the Threshold, but it's just like there's never a good outcome to it.
I agree. Yeah. So saying all that,
that kicks us off. Like that's kind of the theme of the episode.
Yeah, and this episode has, and I don't think we've had a sort of flash forward opening.
Yeah, good classic trope to something coming in the episode.
Yeah. So we start with Molly. Dr. Caffrey is handcuffed. She looks injured. I noticed.
Creepy basement.
Yeah, in a creepy basement. There's images of this religious figure that we're going to see as the Reverend. There's a lot of like religious iconography around. I did notice it's the first time she's ever worn jeans.
Oh, you're so good at that.
Mm-hmm. I was like, jeans? Whoa, is it a weekend for her?
And then we flash in. It's like 2 days earlier.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm so invested.
I know. It's like it is a thing that doesn't really work. You're like, oh, is our hero going to get in trouble at some point in the episode? I hope so, or I don't know what this episode's going to be about.
And then it is true. It's like, are they going to get into something? I'm like, well, I hope so, because I'm investing 45 minutes into this. Like, I don't want to just see her trying on jeans. I mean, to be fair, I would, but
yeah, I mean, you do like to see a bunch of jeans, which ones look best.
Yeah.
Essentially, though, 2 days earlier at the Threshold Center, they're gonna split up the team once again to run 2 different missions.
Do you think they just find this obviously it's a convenient way to split up plots? But do you think they just don't know what to do with? They have too many members, and they're like, just pair them up.
I think it's more that just like A plot, B plot kind of thing they need to do, and like sometimes they just don't dovetail well.
Yeah, I will note though, we mentioned from the very beginning of this that they were sort of setting up Kavanaugh and Caffrey to be love interests.
Yeah,
and they've hinted at it every now and then. I almost feel like it's entirely gone at this point.
It's definitely. I think you're right. I think it's been at least minimized for sure.
Yeah, because like every time I'm there together, I'm like, oh, they're gonna have a scene. I'm like, no, they don't.
No.
I think it's just because you mostly just like Kavanaugh's beating someone up and she's actually getting the job done. So
that's true. Caffrey and Kavanaugh are going to head to New Harmony, Indiana, home of one of the missing Bighorn sailors. They've had some agents out there who've been surveying his mother to see if he comes back, and one of those agents has gone missing. And then our second plot is Ramsey and Lucas, after finding that chunk of wood at the clam shack, they suddenly realize, they're like, hey, maybe we should check on that boat we exploded at the bottom of the ocean. And so they're going to be doing a deep sea dive from the comfort of their home to check up on the old Bighorn.
And one real quick note. How much better would it have been if they actually had to get into the boat?
I will say this about that is, like, I haven't seen this much B footage used for a while. Like, there's a lot of just like stock footage used of like boats going places, and you can just tell it's like, oh, we're not taking any of these cast out in the ocean again. We'll just find some footage of a boat, find some footage of some stuff
guys,
underwater.
we built the Threshold Center. They're not leaving the center.
And Dr. Fenway, I guess this episode, as always, is just a floater. He just floats between plots as required.
Well, because they only, I think one mission, it was like episode 3 or 4, he went out with them, but otherwise they don't know what to do with him. So he's always just back looking at screens being like, interesting.
In this episode, because Caffrey's sad because she killed her mentor and she's going to become friends with JT, there literally is a scene where she's just like, well, you know, Lucas and Ramsey, they're really getting along, and
yeah, that's right.
And I'm gonna hang with you. And Fenway, she's just like, hey, he's just Fenway. Like, they clearly are also like, we don't know, he's just here. You want to follow Dr. Caffrey and Kavanaugh first out to Indiana?
I guess, yeah. So I'm trying to remember what it is, why did they initially go out there?
They're going out there to find that missing agent. They go out there and they meet with his partner, because they've been stalking taking out the mother's house. They're like, she must have something to do with this, so let's break into her house.
That's right. They go into the house, and for some reason, I thought it was funny that the big crux of everything is they find receipts.
I know. It's
you get to watch characters talk about receipts and look at receipts and then talk more about receipts. You're like, okay, great. But basically what it is they think maybe the missing sailor is there. And so they're looking at receipts, trying to figure out, did he buy it or did his mom? That's how exciting this is.
I mean, her grocery receipts are quite large, but there's no food in her fridge.
Yeah.
But the agent who's there, like the one who's not missing, is there. And he's like, don't worry about those receipts. Every week, she gives all that food to the food drive of the church. Mm-hmm. And Caffrey's like, you mean this flyer for this church I just found on the fridge?
Yeah, right.
What's on that flyer?
The flyer has sort of like, discussions. Oh, come to church, blah, blah, blah. But it's there's an image of the glass
forest.
The
I believe
forest,
the Reverend refers to it as the sea of glass.
Right. Yeah, because it's a reference. He makes a reference later. There's a what was it? I wrote it down. It was Revelation.
Oh, that's right. He does quote Revelation.
Oh, and by the way, it was Revelations 4:6, and I looked it up. He paraphrases.
They paraphrase.
What he's saying is in there, but he really goes out of his way to make this work. Is what I'm saying. But anyways,
so they head down to the church and to see the Reverend process. And what do they go undercover as at the church, Jordan?
Oh yeah, I don't know what the publication is, but she's pretending to be a writer, and Kavanaugh is a photographer, or he does graphics and photography for like a religious magazine
for modern spirituality.
Yeah. And so they dress up in their Sunday best, and they go to the church in the hope of talking to the Reverend, and basically go, we want to have an interview with you about these dreams.
Yeah, your visions you're having.
Yeah, and he's all like, yeah, great.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
And they also, like, all the people at the church are like, we've had the dreams too. He's right. We've all had these dreams. And they sort of interview. There's a montage where they interview everyone, and they all have had like non-alien related dreams. It's like a dream. The whole town was on fire. It was great.
Yeah.
Like, so they realize really the only one they have to worry about is the priest, and they kind of focus in on him. And this is kind of where we get into a lot of the like.
That was a weird thing though. Why did they have to even drop in, oh, they all have dreams, and they go, oh no, they don't have dreams. Like, I get it because they want to narrow it down, but like, why even mention? They could have just said the Reverend has dreams.
Yeah, I think they were like,
because that montage was so exciting.
I think they're trying to play off of the last episode where everyone else, like, because this one's so related, like, they're going to the sea because of the crystals they found on the log. She's sad about it. Like, and I think the last one, they had found a town with a bunch of dreamers.
Right.
So I think they were just trying to steal from that episode and then like misdirect you and be like, oh, what piece of log is it going to be?
Right. Wouldn't it be great if every episode was a different piece of wood?
Which piece of wood? At any rate, while she's talking to this Reverend, they kind of chat about religion and science, and she notices he has this on his stained glass window. He's got one commissioned with the spiral and the stained glass. He's been very productive.
Yeah, I know.
And she's just like, hey, where'd you see that crazy spiral up there? And he's like, oh, I saw it in the fountain outside next to the church's garden. And so she takes a little trip outside to have a look in that fountain. And we get what is my favorite part of the episode?
Well, it is good. So first she goes to the fountain and she's kind of looking, and there's a lot of like bugs going around, and I think like they have like a CGI bug goes on her at one point.
Like a housefly lands on her.
And then so she's like, oh, that's interesting. And then she walks over to the garden.
Didn't you notice the housefly was also horribly mutated?
I didn't notice.
It was all grotesque. Like in that close up, it's all like weird and like the fly, basically. It's all
so something's funny. She goes over to the garden. She starts looking, and it's in a nice, organized garden.
Some lettuce.
Yeah, and she starts looking in, and for whatever reason, she looks into the lettuce.
She pulls open the leaves,
and there is like what looks like a mouth without the mouth. It's just gums and bloody teeth, and it's just hideous looking. And actually, at this point, I thought there's been a couple things like that now in the show, the cat and stuff. I'm like, I almost feel like this is what the show should push into. They're actually pretty good.
The body horror elements?
Yeah. And it's like, they don't, I know it's like, it's basic. It's probably on at like 8 o'clock at night on cable television, but like, holy moly.
Lettuce full of teeth?
It's gross.
Stuff.
Yeah, it's
great
good
stuff.
And they do that better than they do relationships.
Anyway, the whole Threshold team swoops in. They quarantine the whole church. They start digging up the garden. And
they did have a point where there was a bunch of police standing around the garden with the garden just taped off, and for some reason that was the funniest thing. I laughed and laughed just watching a garden be taped off.
Don't go in his garden.
Yeah, it was just
crime scene.
Yeah, it was very
crime
funny.
Garden.
Yeah. What was in there? Teeth.
Well, and they're like pulling up the lettuce, and like some of the lettuce stalks have like crystals growing out of them. They're like, well, this is alien lettuce if I've ever seen it.
They do say that.
And then like I have the reverend's just like, this is religious persecution. And I'm just like, I mean, you got teeth in your lettuce. I don't think it is.
Yeah. So they basically think, oh no, people have been eating this food. Although, dear God, if you're working in the church and you're making like a nice sandwich for people and you start pulling back those leaves, you're not using that lettuce.
I do think they're not sure if anyone's been eating it. But they're like, where did it like?
Yeah, they're worried that if people have been eating it, they may be affected.
What could happen?
And theta waves and, the usual.
But at this point, they figure out that the mom hasn't been giving her groceries to charity after all. So they circle back to interview her. Because if she hasn't been giving her groceries to charity, well, clearly her son must be back in town.
Mm-hmm.
And they all sit down in her living room to have a nice chat. And I think she excuses herself for 2 seconds, like, I gotta go get the tea or something. And she walks back in with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Just starts blasting at them.
Yeah, she starts shooting. I think she grabs Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh like runs at her. That's what his go-to move is to run at you.
Yeah. And then Caffrey pulls out a electric bullet
gun
and
kills her.
Yeah.
And then like Kavanaugh's like injured in the fracas because I guess she's alien strong or something. He like pops his shoulder. He's like, well, I'm out.
Yeah.
That's it for me. I can't do anything else. At which point, like in the aftermath of this, they get a call from the agent who's still alive. Like they were missing the one agent, but the other agent calls her up. He's like, hey, are you guys busy? And they're like, oh, we just caught alien mom. He's like, I got something real important to tell you at the church. Can you just come down to the church?
Yeah, and Caffrey's like, I'll come. Let's make sure, though, that there's no one there and I go by myself. And he's like, yeah, sounds good.
Kavanaugh's like, I hurt my arm.
Yeah.
I got to stay here.
Yeah. So she does. She goes.
And he has something very important to tell her.
Yeah.
A fist to her face.
It was really funny.
It was. I love the execution of it so much.
She goes, hey, where is everyone? And he's like, oh, they're gone. And she's like, you had something to tell me? He goes, yeah, I do have something to tell you. Slam. And just
it was. He's like, what did you have to tell me? He's like, oh, this. And he just like, it's just a fist to the camera.
Yeah, and
she's
out.
I was like, this was very funny. I really enjoyed that. She gets knocked out. She has a non-alien related dream. Just an anxiety dream.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that the world has ended because she's like...
Because Threshold didn't work.
Yeah.
But it's not related to this one's just a legit dream, not related to alien dreams that the only other dreams we've seen.
It is weird to have a dream sequence when you've established that dreams are important and go, by the way, guys, this one's not.
This one's just an anxiety dream. This one's just a regular dream. But she finally wakes up in that basement we saw at the start. She looks to her right. Somebody's killed Sloth from the Goonies.
That's exactly what it does look like.
Yeah, there's like, I guess...
Who is that?
I think it's the agent who's been missing.
Oh,
I guess they tried to mutate him and it didn't work.
I thought maybe it was that intern again.
But like the makeup effect, I was just like, that is just Sloth from the Goonies. Like I was just like, he's here. He's dead now. The aliens have killed him. The sailor finally makes his appearance from the guy from the Bighorn. He is there. He, we are told, is an agricultural engineer before he was a sailor.
Yep.
They all had storied careers before
Yeah.
they became
I
sailors.
just love how they find the most awkward, clumsy way of getting stuff in, and they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, he was a lawyer before. So he knows law. You're like, what? It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm watching a show about aliens. Like, you guys can just fudge
we
that.
don't
It's
need
fine.
we don't need every piece of information.
Yeah.
Since he doesn't have access to signal and his core driving thing is to convert people, he's been injecting people with his own blood. His arms are covered with track marks, and I guess that's how he converted this agent by injecting his blood. Converted his mother, the one who didn't mutate, sloth on the ground. I guess that's how we get to him. But he's also been using his agricultural engineering degree to use his blood as plant fertilizer,
Yeah.
which made that tooth lettuce.
So yeah, he uses his blood. He's putting in the plants, and they start growing teeth for some reason.
And I guess what they say is it's because the mutation, they want to give the triple helix to the plants, but because he's now like mixed human DNA in there, like the plants just start growing. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
They say specifically they have crystal inflammations.
Wonderful. But essentially his plan is he's hoping if he can figure out a way to give the triple helix to plants, they can just affect the food supply, basically.
Yeah.
Or as one character will say, quote, ever heard of GMOs?
Yeah, and then actually, Caffrey has a funny response to that. She's like, "Yeah, I've been to a grocery store."
Genetically modified organisms? Yes, I do know. So she's tied up. He's menacing her. He's like, I'm going to inject you with blood. I'm going to give you my blood, and you're going to be a mutant, and you're going to tell me all your secrets.
But she has a Swiss Army knife with her.
Yeah, she has.
Now, wouldn't this be a great Naked Gun-esque sort of moment? Because just before the guy comes, she has her Swiss Army knife. She's trying to pick the lock to get out. But because it's Caffrey and she is someone who thinks about all the possible outcomes of something, she should have had like 1,000-piece
It's a huge
Swiss Army.
Swiss
Yeah,
Army
yeah,
knife.
huge Swiss Army knife.
That
That
would
would
be
have been
very
funny.
good. That would have
but
been good.
Instead, it's just a normal Swiss Army knife.
Also, I forgot about the Swiss Army knife because it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter because she tries using it. The guy comes so she can't
Get out of her thing.
Get out of her lock.
She's being menaced.
He comes over. She stabs him in the leg, which doesn't do anything. And then just at that moment, because she's a damsel in distress, the door gets kicked open.
And Caffrey's
Kavanaugh's
there.
And
Kavanagh's there, yeah.
and Kavanaugh shoots him with a laser bullet.
And it's just like, good thing we put tracking devices in you. And I was just like, there's no tension. And I forgot
Yeah.
they had said that earlier, that
Yeah.
they did that. I'm just like, you guys can't have people disappear because there's no tension in that anymore. Because, like, she doesn't escape. She doesn't use her ingenuity.
Yeah. It was, for me, the worst outcome they could have had for this scene because she's the star of the show. She's the hero.
Yeah.
And you've had her be chained up, and instead of having her be like a strong, powerful, interesting woman who MacGyver's her way out of it,
Well,
they have Kavanaugh, the
that's-
most boring character, save her.
Well, and that scene should be like, how do you use your
Yes.
wiles to go? That's how that scene usually is handled. And I would like, not that I don't think they would have done it great, but I was like, all right, how's she going to get out of this? And it's just like, it is just like, it feels more like, just end the scene.
Also, how much a better episode if it was a bit of like a bottle episode where she's just there
She's
the
in
whole
the
time,
thing?
just
Sure.
trying to figure her way out.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's more interesting ways of doing it. And it's just this way this show does. They set up and they go, nah.
They take a lot of little ideas and they're just like, this one and this one, this one. But it's like, they don't spend any time in them. So
Yeah.
they just like, and it's over, and it's over, and it's over.
Yeah.
Anyway, they've caught the sailor and killed him. He's also dead. The mother's
Yeah.
dead. He's dead. I assume that agent they found is probably dead as well. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, she sure doesn't look good.
The Reverend apologizes for it. He didn't know.
Yeah.
He thought this was a good man.
Was the Reverend hiding?
Yes.
He was hiding him.
He was hiding him in the basement of the church. He was told a story and he believed it. And they tell the Reverend, it's like, no, that sailor was actually making hallucinogenic drugs and you were just hallucinating. He's just a big drug dealer.
Yeah, and he was like, so I haven't been talking to the god? They're like, nope.
He's like, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad, you guys.
Yeah.
Quickly, let's jump in. Let's go through what Ramsey and Lucas have been doing because it's very short. They've been looking at stock footage of the ocean from
Yeah.
the
They're looking for the boat.
threshold.
And it's just like, is that the boat? Nope. Is that the boat? Nope. But they first come across a wreckage that they think is the boat. It's not. It's a North Korean boat.
It's the North Korean sub from the first episode,
Yeah.
which apparently crashed down there, which they leave as like, why did that happen? Let's find out later.
Yeah, no one cares. And then they eventually do find the boat.
They find the boat, and it is a giant, now like crystals are growing out of it. It's like a giant crystal like field of like glass, basically like the Crystal Forest. Or did you ever have those
I did.
crystal glowing kits as a kid?
Mhm.
That's exactly what I thought of
Yeah.
when I saw it.
Yeah.
And
but it's because, and to cut you off,
Yeah,
is
cool.
what they sort of realize is, and they say, they're bioforming the people and terraforming the planet.
Right. They shouldn't have sunk that ship.
Yeah. Which actually, again, is a cool idea. But why they've left it to episode 8
and given it 2 seconds of screen time.
Yeah.
And it is the thing is like they're gonna have to start monitoring the seabed now because like they can't stop that from growing. And I was just watching at this point. I'm just like, okay, it is now official. You've lost control of the situation.
Yeah.
Like we felt this way for a few episodes, like that this has gotten out of hand. You guys
and they're not very good.
can't manage it. But it's just like, okay, well, there's literally nothing you can do about this. Like, call it like 500 square meters of ocean that is now growing an alien landscape.
I love it when people use football fields as a unit of measurement.
I believe
but
they did use that.
but I think he's like just imagine a whole football field. I'm like, is that how big it is now? Because that's a problem. It's a
Yeah.
big problem.
And then the episode kind of wraps up with JT and
Having a coffee.
old cow because they're like, she needs some help. She needs someone to talk to. So why not talk to him? And my only thought was, are you telling me the entire Threshold plan doesn't have one psychologist on staff? You've designed this to have like the most stressful situations.
No. He says they do, but she doesn't want to go to him.
Oh,
So
right.
she just goes like, "Oh no, I."
So she's not following her own plan.
Yeah, she's not following her plan. She'd rather talk to JT. I'm like, you guys spend all day together. Have you ever had that where like you work long office hours and there's someone's like, let's go get drinks after, and I'll be like, I just spent all day with you. Like we've said everything we could say.
What's left?
And what's left? Like putting a beverage in front of me is not going to make you more interesting.
What I also liked is he sat down. He's like, I'm unwinding, and he's pouring himself a cup of coffee. And I'm just like, it's time to go to sleep, not time to start drinking coffee.
Yeah.
You're off work.
Well, they try to play up that they're both kind of stress cases and they both are workaholics and
So jittery.
And they found each other.
They both their friends think they're having sex with a married man.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan. Do you have any final notes on these episodes?
I would only say what's kind of interesting is for a serialized show, they've clearly at least sort of started in these last 2 episodes progressing.
They're only
things,
starting to get
but
that rolling.
I just feel like there's zero momentum. Like the characters are always acting like there's an urgency to the emergency, but as a viewer, I don't feel it at all.
It is like they in the last like, and these 2 episodes are like are certainly weak serialization, but like the most we've had so far, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you're in episode 7 and 8. Get your wheel, get some traction underneath.
Well, it's
you
like,
guys.
and not only that, but even when they do have like a meaningful conflict, it's spread out over multiple episodes. So it just kind of loses something, and anything that was interesting ends up just being kind of shallow. So you just go, oh yeah, there was a dream that someone had 3 episodes ago. Okay, it doesn't matter. It
it doesn't know how to serialize.
Yeah. And the serialization is actually, I think, hurting the show.
It's hard to say. I don't disagree, but I'm just like, I was like, either go all in or just cut it all
You're
out.
probably right.
It's just like you got to pick a side, you guys.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan. Do you want to rate the order?
Sure. I have made no secret that I'm not really enjoying this show. I find this too much to be a weak procedural show, and I don't like procedural shows as they are. All the things I like of the show, it doesn't want to do, and it's like teasing me. It's like, hey, it's like an alien show, but we don't. We want to talk about wood. So I can't. I gotta give it 4 out of 10.
4 out of 10.
Yeah.
I obviously am a little more forgiving of this
Yeah.
show. Obviously, it's obviously not a great show, but there's like I enjoyed having Lucas and Ramsey running around together. They had some fun moments. I enjoyed that. That mutated cat.
Oh, the cat got 1 point. It was a 3 out of 10 until that
that
cat
was
showed
like
up.
that. I think for me this was like a 5, and then that cat showed up, and I'm just like, all right, give me that cat. I was like, I'm gonna give this a 6.
I'm gonna give the next episode. What was 8 called?
Revelations.
I'm gonna go all the way down to a 3, and that's giving 2 points for those teeth.
Great.
I didn't like the basic premise of it. I didn't like anything. And it's, again, if this had maybe been the 2nd or 3rd episode, I'd be like, oh, okay. But it just is like, guys, you're getting so long in the tooth. No pun intended.
I feel like the show is just very average. Like I think for the most part, most of these shows run a 5, and the best they can do is like come up by a point.
Yeah.
For me, I think you're right. The premise of this is so hackney, so cliche, but because that
was good.
That mutated fly and the teeth in that lettuce were so cool and fun. It's going to climb its way back up to a 5.
Yeah. Okay.
It would have been lower, but like I was just like, I love those teeth.
Yeah. We're not too far off.
Since this show has been hovering at the breaking point for so long, I'm going to have to fire up the computer here and have a little look-see
Okay.
into where we are with the escape pod.
I've already strapped myself into the escape pod. I'm ready to go. I know I'm just going to sit there lonely because we're not going. I just know.
You don't think we're going to go?
No, I'm ready to go. I've got my helmet on. My boots are on. I've already got a snacks, Luke. Three types of snacks.
You've been trying to leave for weeks. All right, well, let me punch the numbers in here, and we'll see where we're falling on this. All right, Jordan, sound the red alarm. I'm shocked you're surprised.
I am shocked. I thought there was 2 6s.
Now we were at 5.01 last time. We're now at 4.92.
Wow.
So that is triggering the escape pod.
Well, I do have snacks.
We're going to jump ahead to the final episode of Threshold next week and finish this off.
May I make a guess, though?
Sure.
I have a feeling not much will have changed in because we're jumping over, what, 3-4 episodes?
4 episodes.
I don't think much is going to have changed.
I don't disagree. I don't think this show has shown it wants to move at a very slow pace.
Yes.
So I don't know if we're going to have missed a lot. My biggest concern in missing these 4 episodes is, am I going to miss meeting Lucas's fiance?
Is that going to be a thing?
We've been waiting for
that's
8
true.
episodes.
That's
They keep
true.
teasing this fiance.
Yeah.
Am I going to miss the fiance? I don't know. Or am I going to get her in the final episode? We'll find out.
We may have to watch those on another time as a bonus.
Find that fiance.
Yeah.
Until then, you can email us at continuumdrag@gmail.com. There we go. I got it out. Where if you've got any thoughts on lettuce growing teeth, you let us know.
Terraforming, bioforming, your opinions on
It's
those.
all happening. It's all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And of course, on Instagram and Twitter, @continuumdrag is the handle. We're going to have some clips from this. And you know what? There's some fun stuff. Mutated fly.
Yeah.
Mutated cat. Teeth in the lettuce. Crystal gardens under the ground.
Lots of people being electrified.
Lots of people getting shot and electrified. There'll be some fun, I think, clips from these 2 episodes, thank God. But that about wraps it up. So, listener, thank you for joining us. And Jordan, I'll see you next week.
See you for the last one.
Continuum Drag is recorded in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Rick Seidler. Produced by Jordan Delic and Luke Black. Special thanks to Aaron Yunes, Adam Wheatner, Jeff Hanley, Jane McRae, and Stephen Packard.